They brought in the little girl as just another witness. No one knew her name, and everyone assumed she was just another scared foster kid. But the moment she looked the judge dead in the eye and whispered, "I can read your mind," the entire courtroom went still. The judge laughed. The lawyer smirked. But 47 seconds later, when she spoke his darkest secret out loud, the one he thought no soul on earth knew, the color drained from his face, and the trial turned into a storm no one could stop. If this kind of story gives you chills, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you won't want to miss what happens next. It was a gray Monday morning when the courtroom filled with the rustling of documents, the murmurs of legal jargon, and the weight of another high-profile case. Judge Carlton Moreau, a stern man in his early 60s, known for his no-nonsense demeanor and piercing blue eyes, took his seat at the bench. Everyone knew he didn't tolerate nonsense or emotion. His courtroom ran like a machine, but today, that machine was about to break in ways no one could have foreseen. The defendant, a wealthy tech CEO named Ronald Claymore, had been accused of a major embezzlement scandal. Billions were unaccounted for, and dozens of employees' lives had been ruined. The courtroom was packed, news crews surrounded the building, and people whispered about the mysterious final witness, a child. No one knew who she was or why she'd been called. She had no parents present, no lawyer, just a caseworker who looked more confused than protective. Her name was Mina, just Mina, small, brown-skinned, with wild knotted hair and clothes a bit too large for her tiny frame. When she was called to the stand, she didn't flinch. She didn't hesitate. She walked slowly, eyes locked ahead like she had rehearsed every step, though no one had seen her prepare. The bailiff offered to help her up to the witness box, but she shook her head silently and climbed up herself. Her eyes scanned the room like she had already seen it before, and when her gaze locked on Judge Merrow, she tilted her head and said quietly, "I can read your mind." The courtroom chuckled. Lawyers smirked. Even the stenographer paused and glanced up, raising an eyebrow. But Judge Merrow, amused, leaned forward slightly with a grin he rarely showed. "Is that so?" he asked, voice tinged with mockery. "And what am I thinking now, young lady?" Mina didn't blink. "You're thinking I remind you of someone," she said calmly, "someone you left behind a long time ago." The grin faded. The laughter in the room grew quieter. She continued, "A girl with a yellow ribbon in her hair, who died, and you blamed yourself, because you were drunk when you crashed the car." The courtroom fell silent. The color drained from Judge Merrow's face. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came. The stenographer stopped typing. The bailiff's hands twitched. The defendant, Ronald Claymore, leaned forward in confusion. Mina just stared. "I told you," she said again, almost gently, "I can read your mind." The court recessed early that day, but the story was only beginning. By the next morning, the courtroom was buzzing with whispers and paranoia. Judge Merrow looked like a different man, pale, distracted, no longer in control. He denied Mina's testimony had affected him, but his hands trembled when he held his gavel. Behind the scenes, he demanded to know who had brought her in, but no one had answers. No legal team claimed her. The caseworker swore she had been assigned Mina only the day before and had no knowledge of her background. No records existed. No birth certificate, no school files, nothing. Just a first name and a stare that seemed to slice through souls. When court resumed, the defense lawyer tried to dismiss her as a child playing games. "Let's not derail a multi-billion-dollar trial with ghost stories," he scoffed. But Mina asked to be allowed to speak again. Judge Merrow, reluctantly, agreed. "Go ahead," he said. "If you have something relevant to the case, speak now." She turned to the jury, eyes moving slowly from face to face. "He didn't act alone," she said, pointing to the defendant. "You're only seeing the surface. The money didn't vanish. It was moved to another name, and that name is in this room. People turned, whispering. A nervous energy crackled. There's a man here, Mina continued, with a mole behind his left ear. He's part of it. He helped build the offshore accounts. He knows the passwords. He was promised protection, and he lied to federal agents. One of the jury members gasped. A man in a dark gray suit near the back of the room stood abruptly and tried to leave, but two bailiffs blocked the exit. Within minutes, the court was in chaos. The man, later identified as an accountant for Claymore's firm, confessed under pressure that he had collaborated with Claymore, but had never told anyone. How did she know? He cried out, weeping. How could she possibly know? Mina didn't answer. But every person in that courtroom began to shift in their seats. They started wondering what secrets she might dig out of them next. Reporters flooded the courthouse. News anchors called her the mind-reader girl. But psychologists debated whether it was manipulation, intuition, or something else entirely. FBI agents arrived. Judge Merrow tried to cancel the rest of the week's hearings, but Mina showed up again, uncalled, unescorted, just standing in the hallway, like she belonged. He asked her directly, "Who are you really?" Mina looked up, eyes calm as ever, and said, "I'm the voice they never listen to, until it's too late." The case was quickly unraveling. More people were arrested. Confessions came out, like spilled ink. But Mina's presence remained the most disturbing factor. She didn't speak often, but when she did, it shook people. The jury forewoman resigned after Mina whispered to her, "The miscarriage wasn't your fault." A guard quit after Mina stared at him and said, "You're planning to hurt yourself tonight. Don't." But it was Judge Merrow who carried the most fear. He started avoiding eye contact. He reviewed her transcripts, trying to find logic, trying to dismiss it all as a trick, until she returned on the third day and walked straight up to the bench without waiting for permission. "Stop right there," the bailiff barked, but Merrow raised his hand. "Let her speak," he said, voice shaky. Mina climbed the steps to his bench and looked him straight in the eyes. "You buried her," she said. "The girl in the yellow ribbon. You thought no one would ever find out, but I know where she is." The courtroom gasped. Merrow's face turned ghostly. He began breathing hard, clutching the edge of his chair. "No, you're lying," he muttered. "You're not real." Mina stepped even closer. "It wasn't just a crash. You didn't call for help. You left her there, and then you ran." A woman in the audience burst into tears. A reporter dropped his pen. "I'm not here to destroy you," Mina said softly. "I'm here so you can finally say the truth. Her name was Leela. Say it." Judge Merrow broke, right there, in front of everyone. The man who had ruled over thousands of cases fell to his knees and sobbed, whispering, "Lila, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." The room went still. Mina walked away, quiet, unshaken, and as the doors closed behind her, people stood, not out of order, but in awe. She was never seen again. But the courtroom was never the same. Judge Merrow resigned. The case turned federal. A dozen corrupt executives were sentenced, and the courtroom, once a place of law and logic, was now haunted by the memory of a girl who knew too much. A girl who could see what no one dared admit, even to themselves.